You're listening to LA 40 with Katerina Cozias, only on LA Talk Radio.
And we are back here at LA Talk Radio. You're tuning in to LA 40. This is the show where, oh my goodness, we delve into all things life after 40. That's right. Because, you know, society just sometimes insists on feeding us this messaging that we are somehow less valuable as we age, that we should stop dreaming, that we may have missed the boat on realizing what we want to realize. And, you know, we're here to remind you at home that no, that's absolutely not the case. In fact, it's after the age of 40, in your 40s and 50s and 60s and beyond, that is really the time you harness everything that you've learned and experienced in the first 40 years, couple it with the person that you've become, and that is when you have the chance to really knock it out of the park. And today, we hope that we are going to knock it out of the park for you. I'm your host, Katerina Cozias. I'm here with you every Thursday. And today, I am joined by not only a friend of mine, but a really successful businesswoman who is knocking it out of the park after 40, business growth strategist, Christine Perakis. Christine, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Katerina, for having me, and I'm really excited about our talk today.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to have a lot of fun, Christine, because we are talking about entrepreneurship today. We're going to delve into what that means and exactly how one can go about starting their own business a little bit later in life if they haven't done so. You know, Christine, I know for a lot of people, they may want to start their own business, but they just don't know how. You know, they don't know what the first steps are. Of course, there's an element of fear, an element of what I would like to call perceived security around sticking with their traditional 9-to-5. You have been on both ends of that spectrum. So I'm going to bump it into your court. Christine has written a book called The Entrepreneur's Essential Roadmap: How to Take Your Business from 0 to 7 Figures in Record Time. So, Christine, we're going to delve into the book a little bit because I want to make sure we touch on some of these growth strategies for our viewers. But then I want to talk a little bit about your journey as well, because that's a real fascinating one. Before we start, though, folks, I'd like to remind you that this is a dial-in show, and we would love your participation. You can dial in and join this conversation at any time by dialing 818-570-5085. That's 818-570-5085. Also, Christine, a little bit later in the program, we are going to be joined by another entrepreneur. Her name is Neva Lee Rekla. Neva is going to be calling in, and you're not going to want to go anywhere for this one because Neva is an entrepreneur who is 7 years old. That's right. So if you think it's time to start something and you're thinking it's too late, well, it's also never too early. Neva's going to join us with some tips on how to get your children involved in entrepreneurship. But for now, Christine, we're going to delve into this. So, you know, I want to start with what are some of the things that somebody should consider before diving headfirst into entrepreneurship?
Well, I think most importantly is getting the mindset for being an entrepreneur. It's really the cornerstone of my 7-tier system that I have written about in my book, because there's 65% of the population wants to start a business and just doesn't know where to get started and how. And I work with senior executives, people with a lot of experience of a, quote, certain age, who are in media and entertainment and digital and technology industries where there's constant change. Mm-hmm. And they have so much to bring to the table. And I, as a passionate entrepreneur, want to encourage them to be able to take what they have and use it and turn it into a business. And so being mentally prepared, having the right attitude, mm-hmm. and being able to create that willingness, the desire, the passion, really igniting that part of yourself, and being able to go out on a limb. Because the truth is, there isn't job security in the way that maybe our parents and grandparents understood anymore. So we have to take control.
But how does one go about, doing that, getting themselves passionate, getting themselves ready? I mean, how do you overcome, I suppose it's a fear factor, really.
It is. And, going into the fear and experiencing it and knowing that you're going to be safe on the other side. So in terms of the doing, there's plenty to do in terms of laying a foundation, making sure that you understand how you're going to meet your financial obligations, what your time commitments are, how do you take care of your family, your partner, then your personal life, your health and well-being. It's really looking at the totality of the life and working the business into that as part of what I call diamond mapping. So you're going to go and look at these areas and see where you are on the spectrum. And for a lot of us, our monies or our business development isn't quite at the 10 that we want it to be. Even sometimes it's health for others. Sometimes it's love and family.
And I think we have to balance all of that, right? Really,
Absolutely.
I think the drive is to have a great life, not just a great career.
Absolutely, and that's really part of how, when I work with clients, I make sure that we're looking at the totality of it, so that while we're working really hard because we want to be working, we're not ignoring the other things that are really important to us.
So you're talking about working with clients. What exactly is it that you do?
Well, I work with people in a variety of ways. I have a business growth online business advisory system that I have for people who want a do-it-yourself solution, because there's a lot of information in a book, which I'm happy and was thrilled to be able to turn into a bestseller on Amazon. And being able to read about it isn't the same as having the consistent education and tools, strategies, tactics, and resources available to you. So I've put that all online in a platform that I have available to my member subscribers. I work with people in group settings and group coaching, and I also work with people very closely one-to-one.
So you're a great go-to resource, Christine, for somebody that may be wanting to start their own business and start monetizing even a passion of theirs.
Absolutely, and I kind of gravitate and love my startup people because they're excited about something new. We're bringing something to the marketplace that might not exist or in a new way, and nothing could be more fun for me.
I love that. What are some of the common business mistakes that new business owners make? So let's say I start a business. What should I look out for?
One of the things that I've got a piece on my website about this, the 10 common mistakes that business owners
10
make.
of them, okay,
right? There's probably 100, right? And I'm sure that I've made all of them, or I've certainly helped steer clients through all of them. And and I use my professional sailing and boat captain experience. It's really about having a good checklist, right? So knowing what it is you need, what are your capital needs, what are your personnel needs, what resources do you need, what do you have that you need in terms of strengths that you want to build up, and what areas may you not be so strong in that you want to get support for. And that's how I've made a career, is by being that support, having that person in your corner that helps you navigate these challenges. So knowing the roadmap that you have, or if you were to take off on a road trip or set sail out off the dock and you didn't know where you were going and you hadn't properly provisioned, you could end up dead in the case of being out to sea, right, or wandering around and not really knowing where you're going.
Right. In terms of strategies to increase profitability, what are some of those?
So really making sure that you have a very tight budget and balance sheet and P&L. It's one of the things I've done in my jobs as a serial entrepreneur in the C-suite, has been to be very vigilant about, especially with a startup, early stage spending. There's never enough resources for any small business. Probably that continues on, but really understanding what are the needs and necessities versus the want-to-haves, and how do you make that choice.
That's a great exercise to get a profit and loss statement together for just your general home life balance as well, right?
Absolutely. I'm kind of a numbers nut. I love to work with numbers. I love to know my numbers. And I think that's why I was able to take a business, my most recent opportunity, from 100% equity funding to a $10 million a year business, where we had huge growth very quickly, and we had to be managed, both in terms of what we asked our team to do, as well as managing that growth when revenues are coming in, but maybe not fast enough, and expenses have to be going out, and it happens so fast, and the needs grow really fast along with the growth of the business.
Well, I think that'd be a great problem for a lot of people to have, is if your business is growing quickly.
Right? It is a first world problem, but it is one nonetheless, because if you overtax your people or yourself, you're burning out your best resource. Everything else doesn't matter if you are not in optimal health and really able to function at the highest levels, because that's what you're needed to do. And the thing about entrepreneurs is they end up getting caught up in what we call they have three hats, or the three eyes of the entrepreneur, as Michael Gerber says.
Eyes, yeah.
It's the entrepreneur, and this is in every business owner, startup, or entrepreneur. They're the entrepreneur, they're the manager, and what Michael Gerber calls the technician, the person who services the client or delivers the business, or services of the business. So most people spend about less than 5% of their time as the entrepreneur once they get started, and they don't keep their eye forward looking. So their eyes are, as a manager, looking back at historical results, as the technician looking at the moment to moment. Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And the entrepreneur is missing the opportunities for growth and strategic development that the business needs. And so they tend to suffer in that area. So that's one of the ways that we look at that when in business, when I'm working with clients.
Now, I have to go there because I read a story that came out the other day from it was highlighted on, I believe, anyway, I think it was the Wall Street Journal, but it was talking about the gender gap, the wage disparity at the BBC, BBC Radio Communications in the UK, and it came out that the 4 top male hosts were making 4 times what the 4 top female hosts were making. So this has all of England up in a tizzy right now, as you can appreciate, because we're talking 2017, and this is 4 times the money for the same job in 2017. It's incredible. Do you or have you seen a disparity between men running businesses and women running businesses? Is there that stereotypical, she's emotional and he's tough, or he can do the numbers and she can do the, do you see a stereotype that is actually visible, or does it come down to the individual?
Well, as a woman, I would have to say that for me, it feels like it's an individual thing. And we all have a responsibility to ourselves to reach our full potential. So if we're not getting what we need, whether in the workplace, through our vendor relationships and strategic partnerships, I tend to work a lot with both men and women, and I don't find there to be, and as a lawyer for 25 years and in that environment in business where I've gotten paid so well for what I know, it's not been something that I've experienced, but I recognize with the women that I work with how that encouragement and support tends to be from a different point of view. And when I work with men, I bring them a different perspective, from a more soft, more feminine approach, perhaps, to how they're looking at their own lives. So we're sort of meeting in the middle on both sides of the gender spectrum.
Right, absolutely. With genders as well, I think sometimes you see couples who get into business together. Yeah, right, and there's the chuckle. How often have you seen that? I suppose it can be challenging. But it can also work really well if each partner is taking their core strength and running with that. What's been your experience with couples who own businesses together?
Well, I've had a number of these experiences, and it is quite interesting because I've worked with couples who've run their own businesses, and I've been a part of a couple that's run their own business, and both successfully and with quite a lot of challenges. And so it really requires being able to keep the communication professional and having very strong boundaries, which is good for any relationship, so that you can actually go home and have your family time and your romantic time, and also propel your business forward, playing on the strengths of each of the partners and recognizing that you're both there because you bring so much to the table.
Have you, as a woman in business, dealt with sexual harassment?
You know, it's, for me, I feel as though it's been rare, and it may be that I feel enough of my own self-confidence and empowerment in the environment that I've missed a lot of it. But every once in a while, I'll hear a honey on the other end of the line. And I'm running a multi-million-dollar business, and I'm talking to one of my vendors, and I'm saying, no, that's not okay. You know, and it's one of those things that when it happens, you have to address it immediately and kindly and gently say, you know what, really, I'm a professional, and whatever the words are for you, that doesn't feel okay. And to nip it in the bud quickly.
Right, yeah, because I think, you know, for me as a woman in business, oftentimes, most times it's not prevalent, but there have been times where, you know, I'm thinking I'm coming to the table in a professional capacity, and I am not being treated as a professional right now, and I know as a woman, it's a little grating, you know, yeah. We're wanting to open this up. If anyone out there has a business question for Christine, you're more than welcome to call in and ask her about it, especially if it has to do with entrepreneurship. Again, that number is 818-570-5085. Christine, I want to lighten this just a little bit and talk about the importance of marketing, because marketing to me is all the fun stuff, right? So we have the foundation set in place, the operations are churning, we have our accounting team looking at all of the analytics. But how do we go out and market ourselves? How important is marketing?
Well, it's critical, right? And you say it's the fun stuff, and I can tell you from experience, for some people it just isn't. And it is amazing how I consider one of my tiers in my system and my book is the identifying your target market, really honing in on who are you here to serve. And you would be surprised at how challenging of an exercise that is for a lot of people. You know, we used to have an expression in my market research company that I was last involved with: if you make a movie for everyone, you've made a movie for no one. So that applies to every product or service that's out there. You're really here to serve a very specific target market, and once they find you, there's no end to what you can do with them and how you can be of service. But until you have that and you really understand it, you've got to get inside the mindset. You have to understand what the number one problem is going on in their head at that time that you're here to solve, and be thinking about them constantly. And so if you don't have that well defined, it can be a challenge. You know, I am very clear about it. So when I'm talking to a client who's still working those things out, especially with a startup, I remind them constantly by giving examples. Here's what I know about this. Here's how it works for me. And a lot of times the key is to turn inside, because we are most likely our ideal client, because we understand ourselves best. We know what problem we're here to solve.
That's an interesting tip. That's a really interesting tip, right? Is what pain point am I dealing with, and what would I like to find in the marketplace that can service that?
Or even better, what have you conquered? What is so comfortable to you that it's like breathing, that you can't even see it?
Right.
You know, we have an expression, you can't see your own eyebrows. And that's the thing, your superpower, that you're here to show others is possible for them.
Right.
So
And that's the thing with this show is, you know, we're here to just help people, remind people that it is possible to dream a little bit bigger. It is possible to, you know, I had a friend of mine who was 55 years old, and she had always wanted to write a book. She said to me, I've written a book, it's been sitting in the bottom of my closet for 7 years. And it just keeps talking to me. And I said to her, well, pull it out of the closet. You know, what are you worried about? And she thought, well, no, because she said, if I was a writer, I would have been a writer all this time. And clearly, if I was meant to be a writer, and I said to her, you're only 55, right? And I think even that, it depends on how we're seeing it. Are you seeing the glass half full or the glass half empty? Because she may live till she's 95 or more. So for the next 40 years, you're going to go through life with this regret on your shoulder and this probably pretty decent manuscript on the floor of your closet. She ended up pulling it out, and she's dusting it off now, and she's really excited about that. So I'm excited about that for her.
Well, thank God, right?
Right,
Because
yeah.
if you think about this, and I tell myself this all the time, what you've accomplished in the last 40 years, if you had the next 40 to accomplish things, there's really no end to it. And now you know all that you know, right? So you don't even have to start from the beginning like you were when you were a child. Yeah. And so, yes is what I say. I get excited. I'm in the room with people of a certain age all the time, and I'm say yes.
Yes. No, exactly. We're saying yes to, yes to life. If there was a company, in your opinion, or a few companies that you'd point to who really have driven it home for their customer base, who would that be? They can be big,
Well, Apple, right?
Oh.
I mean, Apple filled a need that we didn't know we had, and that's the story of most marketing courses and, business growth seminars and all of that you can point to a company that found something that we needed, right?
Which is what in your opinion, what did Apple serve us with?
Well, for me, it wasn't so much about the design. I don't happen to be a member of the I family,
okay.
But I do believe that they set us on this course towards the smartphone, which none of us can live without, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember a life without it, and I don't want to know.
I wonder how sometimes, how did we go through life? Back in the day, most of us are old enough to remember, when you had to call someone on a rotary phone and then set a time to meet and wait on the corner. And if they didn't show up, you just kind of hung out for half an hour and then went home.
I've been on a couple dates like that, so I know what you mean.
I was going to say, that's a whole different show.
Right.
But talking about life after 40, you have proudly done a lot of really cool things since turning 40. So I'd love for you to share some of those with us.
Well, you gave me this opportunity to come join you today, so I started thinking about it. What have I done after 40 that's at all interesting and that I could speak to? And I realized as I was making my list, it was a lot of fun because there was so much. I have grown and expanded and sold 5 businesses. I've written a best-selling book. I learned to play the ukulele. I have... adequately, anyway.
I was going to say, back that up. The ukulele. What prompted you to pick the ukulele up?
Well, in my
story
past,
there has to be a story there.
I was in Hawaii, and they're known for their ukuleles, and I found this little store on the Big Island that had this gorgeous collection, and I had played the guitar when I was a kid, and it was 100 years ago, so I would never pick up a guitar again, and I felt like I could handle it. I would be able to get good enough, and I started taking lessons. I really took it on like a mission, and it's been so fulfilling.
Do you ever sit by a bonfire and ukulele
Absolutely.
away? I would love to do that.
We went river rafting over Memorial Weekend, and I got to play my ukulele at the campfire. It was so exciting.
How was it writing a book? Because, again, a lot of people say, there's a book in them, there's a book in me. Was that daunting at all?
Well, like everybody else of that ilk, I felt like there was a book in me for years, decades. I felt the title, I saw myself writing it, and I can't tell you how many successful people, far more successful than me or more well-known than me, who also have a book in them, and they just haven't done it yet. People tell me I have a book in me. People say I should write a book. I hear that all the time. You just have to start, like anything, like your startup business, like the ukulele, or whatever it is that you've been dying to do. You have to take one step in.
And on that one step in point, I had somebody who had made a point one day. I think I was at a conference, and he was up on stage, and he said to the people, exactly to your point, if you get up and you carve out an extra hour a day, right? So set your alarm for an extra hour a day early, make your coffee, go sit at your desk and dedicate that first hour to writing a page, just a page.
Right.
In a year, you'll have a 365-page book. It can be that easy. And yet people are scared of it, thinking, how am I going to start? Where am I going to go? An hour a day.
Well, what I used to say to people, they always ask me, how long did it take you to write it? And I say 25 years plus 1 year. So it's the 25 years to get the mental mindset to do it.
Give yourself
exactly.
permission to try it. You're also a 100-ton boat captain. You have a captain's license.
Which I got after 40.
That. Yes, exactly.
Another one of my things.
Yeah.
I'd always wanted to do it. I'm a passionate learner, so the idea of teaching something or getting certified or licensed in something makes me feel like I've mastered. So in the past, when I was young, I was a ski instructor and a yoga instructor, and I've taught different things. I've been an adjunct professor online to graduate students. And the boat captain thing was something I've always wanted. I'm a passionate sailor and a boater, and I want to sail around the world. And I felt like getting that license would give me a certain level of competence and acknowledgement for to be licensed and certified. And it took me until I sold my last business where I really had the time, the resources, and the energy to do it. And I was well past 40 by that time. So it was a real thrill to be able to get it done. And I took my license out for a spin. I was running boats in the marina, and I did deliveries offshore on the eastern seaboard down to the Caribbean, which led me into my home that I have there, and residency in the British Virgin Islands, so I live part-time there.
I was going to say, vacation at your place.
Yeah. If I had a nickel for everybody who threatens to come.
With, building a business, I think part of the thing that keeps people dreaming about becoming an entrepreneur is the perceived flexibility and freedom.
Would that it were true, right? Well, it is in the sense that your schedule is flexible. You can pick and choose how you spend your time. You have to be vigilant and disciplined about, working on your business and working in your business, but you get to choose when that occurs.
Talk to me about working on your business and in your business. What's that distinction?
So taking back to our 3 I's of our entrepreneur, working on your business are the things that we do to grow the business, to get an end zone and keep our goals moving forward. And so whether that's the marketing stuff, it's developing new products and services, hiring the right people, and the working in your business is the delivery of the product and service.
And you need both.
Absolutely.
Right?
And most people aren't doing the working on your business enough. Or it's the opposite. They're working on their business so much that nothing ever gets done. But the truth is you have to have a good balance.
Right. And the 3 I's again of entrepreneurship?
The entrepreneur, the manager, and the technician.
Okay, right. That you, the I, owner, is basically flipping the hat on and off.
Right. The entrepreneur is looking forward, the manager is looking behind it historically, and the technician is working in the moment.
What are your thoughts when it comes to raising capital on selling equity? Well, or are you a fan of bootstrapping it yourself? What have you seen, or what are the strengths of either one of those two strategies?
Well, I've been involved in both, and I like to tell my clients that finding good strategic partners. So if you're taking an investment, you want to do that for a good reason. You want to hold on to as much equity as you can when it's your baby, but most of the time we can't because somebody's coming in and taking a huge risk on us. So if someone's coming in like that, you hope that they're bringing something really strong to the table, whether it's professional skills or good mentorship or other resources.
Contacts, right. Okay, that's not too bad. In just a couple of minutes, we're going to be joined by Neva Lee Rekla. So Neva, if you happen to be watching and you're ready to call in, we're ready for you anytime, so feel free to dial in. And we're going to delve into Neva's story, which is really quite fun. The thing that I love about entrepreneurship is that it's ageless. And one of my favorite examples is Colonel Sanders, right? Colonel Sanders, at the age of 64, had this idea to start selling his chicken recipe, started going door to door with a chicken recipe because he was so down and out on his luck, and completely revolutionized part of the way we see the fast food industry. And I think when he died was worth the equivalent dollars today of almost $1 billion in net worth based off of his willingness to go out there after the age of 65 and really tackle something.
It just goes to show it's never too late.
So how did you move, while we're waiting for Neva, how did you move from being an attorney into being a business owner of your own entrepreneurship?
Well, I always knew that when I went to law school and graduate school that I was going to be using these tools to help me be who I was going to be. And after putting in the time for a couple of years, I found that I wanted my freedom. So way back when, I spent time marketing myself as a contract attorney at a time that no one ever did. So that was kind of my first entrepreneurial venture, was selling my services in a way that allowed me to spend 6 months out of the year in Mexico sailing,
Right.
and Colorado skiing, and come back and forth. And it created a lifestyle for me that really showed me what was possible through entrepreneurship.
Right.
And it set me out in other jobs that I've taken between then and now have been to propel my knowledge, my skills, the work that I do in the entertainment industry and things
Right.
like that.
I think we have our call coming in. That's
Oh, great.
perfect. All right, let's see. All right. Hi, you're tuning into LA Talk Radio. Is this Neva?
Yes, it is.
Well, hi, Neva. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Neva. Congratulations on all your successes. You sure have a great story.
Thank you.
Neva, we're so excited to have you. I'm just going to formally introduce you to our listeners so that they can too understand how fabulous you are. So for everyone listening, we are joined right now on the call by Neva Lee Rekla. You're tuning into LA 40, and we're talking with Christine Perakis, as well as Neva now on the phone, about entrepreneurship in America. Of course, LA 40 is all about life after 40. But because the topic of success and entrepreneurship is ageless and rangeless, I had to invite Neva onto the program because I was blown out of the water when I met this young entrepreneur. Neva has been featured in Forbes, in Inc. magazine, in Entrepreneur. She, at the age of 2, asked for her own business cards. At the age of 5, she was supporting veterans. At the age of 6, she was leading an advisory board. And now at the age of 7, she is authoring a book and also has founded Superpower Kids, which is a website and a movement aimed at inspiring children to be entrepreneurs. So, Neva, that's a whole lot of stuff you've done in your 7 years.
Thank you.
So exciting, so exciting. I had the pleasure of meeting you, Neva, at CEO Space. CEO Space is the #1 business accelerator program in the country, as rated by Forbes and Inc. magazine. And they hold conventions, forums, 4 to 5 times a year, where they bring in entrepreneurs and knowledge, people of a real solid knowledge base in business, to help accelerate entrepreneurs and their businesses. And Neva, you have essentially grown up in the CEO space and arena. You've been a member there and joining them on the children's side for quite a few years. Can you tell me, Neva, a little bit about how you get yourself motivated to be an entrepreneur? Oh, hang on one second because we lost you a little bit. So tell me, Neva, what I think we've got possibly a bad connection. What's your favorite part of being an entrepreneur? Why do you do what you do?
The reason I do what I do is because I really want to inspire kids. I feel like if we do that, that changes the world.
It changes the world if we bring in some energy. We've got a little bit of a bad connection, Neva, which is too bad, but that's okay. Can you tell me a little bit about? Can you actually, Neva? You know what we'll do is we'll get you to hang up, and can you call us right back? Because we've got a bad connection. We want to make sure we're hearing you correctly. So we're going to hang up now. Call me right back. Okay, terrific. Thanks. Bye-bye.
While we're waiting for her, it brings up a really great point because at her age, she gets to feel this way and dream about changing the world. Right. And how exciting is that? Whereas some of us, when we get to a certain point in our lives and we've been so busy, paying the mortgage, raising a family, taking care of whatever the things are that come up in the life, we forget that we really do want to change the world.
Right. And that's the child innocence that we still have.
Yeah.
All right. So, Neva, I think we have you back now. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, much better. Yay. Fantastic.
Yay.
Perfect. Yay. So, Neva, you are a child entrepreneur. So tell me a little bit about your website, Superpower Kids.
So Superpower Kids is, I do interviews. I've interviewed J.P. Sears, the original Wonder Woman, Kathy Lee Crosby, and that was really cool.
Oh,
and
of course.
I'm a co-host on my mom's show, which is superpower expert. So that's kind of how I got the idea for Superpower Kids.
Right, absolutely. I think it's fantastic. And so tell me a little bit about your book that you're writing with You Speak It Publishing.
So the book that I'm writing is about CEO space and being a young entrepreneur. And actually, I did my first contact call last night.
How did that go? Oh, wow. I'm excited for you. How was that?
It was amazing. I loved it. And I actually have a few more slots available for my sponsors. So people can go check me out on my website, nevaleerekla.com.
So nevaleerekla.com, and people can go there and they can sponsor you for your book, which is fantastic. So anyone out there that's listening that may want to sponsor Neva and sponsor her push to really inspire other kids to be entrepreneurs, go to nevaleerekla.com. And you can find out more about Neva. So Neva, tell me a little bit about what your plans are in terms of where you see yourself in 10 years. Have you thought of that at all?
Not really, but I'm thinking of just staying where I am and then going from there.
Right, absolutely. And I think, I think Christine here, who's our guest, can probably talk to the fact that once you're on a path, you just have to be open to all the possibilities, right?
Absolutely, and you don't always know where that path might lead you, and it's going to be probably better than you can imagine, more exciting, and beyond.
Absolutely. Neva, how important is having a positive attitude?
Well, that's really important because you need a positive attitude to go everywhere. You need it in order to meet new people, in order to have new people be nice to you.
Absolutely. And I think, as human beings, it's very important for us to be portraying positivity because maybe at the end of the day, we're here to make someone else feel good, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
And that's also what a positive attitude is.
Yes, exactly. Well, Neva, thank you so very much for calling in. We commend you for all of your hard work. You had done a little bit of work with in support of veterans a few years back. Can you tell me a little bit about that before we let you go?
So I am actually still running it.
Oh.
And it's called Spreading Light, Love, and Pixie Dust. And so last Veterans Day, I handed out 1,000 pictures with my sister and my parents.
Wow. And that was just to make the veterans feel good?
Yep. And I made a lot of grown men cry, that's for sure.
That's probably going to be a thing you do for the rest of your life.
Neva, we are so happy to have you be part of this program today. Also be part of the world in general. You have such a lovely presence about you, and I know that everyone at CEO Space is very excited to have you be part of the team there. That is, as I mentioned, the #1 business accelerator program in the country, run by September and Bernie Dorman. For anyone looking at ways and forums to help accelerate your business in terms of strategy, in terms of marketing, in terms of all of the things businesses need, do have a look at ceospaceamerica.com. Do have a look at nevaleerekla.com, because Neva, I have a feeling that you're going to be just continuing to blow it out of the water as you continue to move your way through life, and we're going to be very excited to keep an eye on you, my dear.
And best of luck with your book and all that you're working on now and for the future.
Neva, when your book is ready, you make sure to let me know, because I interview authors, and I would love to have you on a program where we can delve into that in a little bit more detail. So for now, wishing you all the very best of luck. I keep looking at the screen. It's funny because if you're watching us at home, you're going to see us looking at the screen because that's where Skype is at. But but we'll look forward.
And thank you for having me on your show. This really meant a lot.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you soon. Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye, Neva.
Thank you.
Bye, Neva.
Bye.
Bye. So great. You see kids that are just sitting and watching TV or running around and making a mess, and then you see a child like Neva who really just wants to go out and make a difference in the world, and I think that is so very commendable.
It's really exciting, and it's wonderful to see in young people. And I actually do work with some young people, some millennial people that their expectations are big, and they want to make huge impact, and they're thinking so creatively. And the beauty of it is there's room for all of us, because I bring in the structure and the foundational pieces. So we're really building a house. We have the great idea and the vision, and we also need to put in the walls and the ceiling and the roof and the doors and all of it. Yeah.
No, that's great. I have to go here simply because you're here with me now. We're going to switch gears just a little bit, and I'd like to talk to you about your speaking career. Because a lot of people also want to move into the space of being a professional speaker, and you did that after 40. How?
Well, I've always liked the book. I always felt like I had something to say. I've been a natural-born teacher, and I just really didn't have, what was my message? What did I have to say to people? What was I willing to do to go out on a limb and be seen? So you have to get over all the reasons why this doesn't work or what is in the way of it. And so the book was helpful in that, because I could develop my roadmap to small business success talk, and I've been doing that a few times every month since the book came out. It's been really exciting, but it's really taking one step at a time by saying, finding the venues, talking to people, saying yes when the opportunities arose. I got my first talk this year came from sitting in a room and saying somebody hearing a CEO say, we had somebody drop out and we need a speaker for our association meeting next month. And I said, I'm available. I didn't have a talk yet. I didn't have anything prepared. I just said yes, and that's how it went.
Well, and this is going back to what, the conversation we just had with Neva, is you just have to keep moving forward, and somehow the opportunities will find their way to you, right?
Yeah, and managing your expectations. You may not get paid for the first few years. You may be working really hard to prepare and doing the best you can, and things can still go wrong. I've been in rooms where, we have technical issues and whatnot, but my job is to really stay focused. And I had a friend of mine ask me, who's taking some classes and trying to become a speaker, you always seem so calm and natural and at ease. You never get nervous, right? And I said, of course I do. And I just have practices that I use every time I go in front of people, so that I deal with that and know that there's a fine line between fear and anxiety and excitement.
Right. And I think you need a little bit of both, right?
Absolutely.
In anything you do.
And the fear, the anxiety is really a sign of your excitement.
Right.
So you focus in on that, and this is going to be so fun because I'm passionate about what I have to say.
Right, yeah. And I think when you're passionate about what you have to say, that's when people around you start to feel that energy. And like we were saying, again with Neva, that positivity, that just becomes infectious. And that is the magnet that is going to draw even more resources, contacts, people, opportunities to you.
And one of the things that I love to do in all of my talks is to make them interactive. So I like to ask the audience questions. I like to get feedback. I like to hear people, even if it's in a large group, raising their hands, just because I know then that we're connecting on something.
Right.
And I know that my experiences, whatever it looks like on paper, are just the human experience. So we all have something to relate to about these things.
Is there a certain industry, in your opinion, that is easier to navigate in terms of business? Because 2008 happened, and a lot of people lost their shirts, and so the landscape for business has changed. The landscape for raising capital has changed. But anything that, in your opinion, seems easier, or is it again just up to the driver of the business?
Well, I've been involved in a great many businesses, and there have been certain cycles. I've been in the entertainment industry for many years, professional motorsports, health and wellness, things like that, real estate, and it's what it seems to be happening these days. We talk about a gig economy. We talk about service businesses. Uber is a great example of how this company just came about because we wanted to help you get where you want to go. Where are you now? Where do you want to go? That's the whole business model. And they're really providing a service, and it's one I can't live without.
Right.
So I'm pretty excited about
Can you imagine
that.
going back to the day, I always say this, remember going back to the day when you had to get on the phone, dial 3 or 4 times to get through, wait for 20 minutes on hold, then hail your cab, wait half an hour for the taxi to show up. I mean, it would take an hour and a half sometimes to get home.
Right.
And now, if it's not out there in if 4 minutes comes up instead of 3, I'm thinking, well, why is it 4 minutes?
I cancel and start over to make
That's
sure
right.
I'm getting a closer car. There's somebody's closer than that.
It's closer than 7 minutes away. Come on now.
So the trend seems to be about providing services and or products that are making people's lives easier. And those are the things that have been the big wins.
Right, yeah. And probably will continue to, because it goes back to what we were saying earlier. They are scratching an itch.
Right.
There is a need in the marketplace that they are finding out a way to fill. Right. Yeah. Before we leave you, just maybe top 2 or 3 tips for anyone considering branching out on their own. Where should they start? Like number 1, number 2, number 3 things to consider.
That be prepared for the ups and the downs, the ebbs and flows. Know that it's so common of a journey for the entrepreneur to get 3 feet from gold. That's from Napoleon Hill, and want to give up. It comes from a story about a gold miner who worked years and years, was determined and sure he was going to strike gold, and eventually just gave up. And the next person who came along that he sold his rights to found the gold 3 feet later. Just know that if you believe in it enough, if it's important to you enough, you can stay with it and get there and push through to that last 3 feet. So mindset. Target market, most important thing. Really know who you're serving. Get inside the head of that person. Follow them around for a week. Find out everything you can about them and what's going on in their head, and really understand that. And then prepare a good foundation. Be able to know, how are your needs going to get met? How are you going to bring in the resources? Plan ahead. Have a strategic vision and know what your goals are for what you want to do.
Sounds great to me. Absolutely. Yeah, fantastic. Christine, if people want to find out more about you, and where could they find you?
Well,
how can they work with you?
The Entrepreneur's Essential Roadmap is on Amazon, so that's available. I do a $10,000 turnaround for businesses, where I spend 45 minutes finding them $10,000 to $100,000 for their business, and without spending a dime on marketing and advertising. So that's something they can learn more about on my website, businessbreakthroughpro.com. So that's businessbreakthroughpro.com, and they can learn more about my business turnarounds. I also have my website, christineperakis.com, where you can learn more about me and all the businesses that I've been involved in and what I do.
And I was going to say, if we want to invite you to be a speaker somewhere, we can go to christineperakis.com and find you there.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So next steps for you, Christine. Where do you see the next 10 to 20 years coming down the pipe? Anything new that you're after, wanting to try, that you haven't yet tried?
I'm working with people that are looking for their next big idea and looking for ways to disrupt in the world. And so that's really exciting on the one hand. And on the other hand, I'm still working with people who have an artistic vision. And so musicians and people with movie ideas, and really wanting to balance out all this tech push that there is, everybody trying to create a unicorn, with people who still see value in good music or fine art or a beautiful movie and a message. So it's being able to take all these things and having them make a difference in the world. The activities that I do and that I facilitate with clients, to make sure that they're there for a purpose that's beyond just filling up your bank account.
And bank accounts are great, but I think they always say money doesn't lead to happiness. Money certainly helps, but I think it's coming down to finding out what is your passion, what is your purpose, and how can you do something with your life that is going to really fill that space that allows you to say to your 90-year-old self, when you're looking at the mirror at the end of your life, I lived it the way I wanted to live it.
Absolutely. Knowing that there are ebbs and flows in life, that whatever's happening in the moment, however challenging it might be, and feeling like you don't have what it takes or you don't have what you need, knowing that that's just a snapshot in the movie of your life, it's not the whole story. And if I've been through business failures, I've seen partnerships break up, I've been through huge successes, I've made my millions, and I've seen it, I've helped others do the same. And so being able to be aware that these are the ebbs and flows. So not getting married to any one vision that this is how it is, so you don't get stuck there.
Right.
And also really having the support, which is what I'm so passionate about, is being there for my people to be able to know that there's a safe landing for them, that there's somebody who's walked that path before them and has met all those challenges and can help guide them around the obstacles.
I think that's an important point is if you're starting out in something new, identify who's been down that path before.
Absolutely.
And, reach out to them or study them because there's no sense in recreating the wheel if you can learn a lot by modeling someone else's goods and bads while still injecting your own sense of identity.
Yeah, it's finding the resonance, right? The people that you resonate and bringing all of them around, because there are people that we admire that we know will never be like. That's great. You did that. So impressive. But truthfully, you're looking for the people that resonate, that are there to help guide you, that have something that you see you can have in yourself.
Absolutely. The Entrepreneur's Essential Roadmap, absolutely available on Amazon. I would highly recommend it to anyone that is moving into the space of entrepreneurship. Neva, if you're listening, you may want to pick up this book as well. It's a great read, and I'm sure that this would be interesting for your parents as well. Christine Perakis at ChristinePerakis.com. Thank you so much for being with us here today. Again, we can find out more at BusinessBreakthroughPro.com. I'm reading it because I don't know it off by heart. BusinessBreakthroughPro.com. Thank you to Neva for being part of our program today as well, inspiring kids to be entrepreneurs and to reach out and really make a difference in the world. Her website is SuperpowerKids. Talks about Superpower Kids at NevaLeeRekla.com. Parting words, Christine?
Thank you so much for having me, Neva. I can't wait to partner with you on some new enterprise, and I'm so excited for all of you budding entrepreneurs out there to create your vision and go for it.
Absolutely. We're going to go for it. We're going to go, unfortunately, now as well, but we do thank you for being here. Always a good time on LA 40 here on LA Talk Radio. Again, I'm your host, Katerina Cozias, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to LA 40 with Katerina Cozias, only on LA Talk Radio.